Summer is almost here, and of course, you waited last minute to try to get your body together. And it feels like with only a few weeks away, it is going to be literally impossible. But what if I told you there are a few things that you can do that can speed up the process? There are little things that you can optimize instead of just doing the boring traditional eating healthy and working out. There are little things that you can add on that can actually help you get the results that you want quicker. So, in this video, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how we are going to get our summer bodies before summer, even though it is only a few weeks away. So, the first one, we're going to be talking about protein, right? It's one of the things that we probably try to get so much in our diet, and it can feel like it's so overwhelming. Eat more protein, eat more protein, eat more protein. I'm trying, and it just feels like it is not working. Well, one thing you can do is learn the difference between complete and incomplete protein. And I'm not going to try to make it too complicated, but all I'm going to tell you is the more incomplete protein you eat, the less protein that is distributed inside of your body. So, for example, behind me, I'll show some versions of complete versus incomplete proteins. There are some individuals that are like, yeah, but I eat avocados all the time. I'm eating chickpeas, all these things that are high in protein all the time. Why am I not seeing results? Because if something is an incomplete protein, that basically just means it doesn't have enough amino acids to essentially distribute in your body. So let's say something you're eating is 5 grams of protein, 6 grams of protein, right? But it is an incomplete protein. That means that your body only is going to receive sometimes about 2 to 3 grams of protein. So it's not that you're not eating protein. Sometimes you're not eating enough complete protein. Now, for those individuals that's like, but I do like a lot of the incomplete protein things to help make sure you get the full amount of protein, pair it with a complete protein. But I think that's the first one I want to talk about because it's the one that a lot of us deal with. Whether you're trying to gain weight, whether you're trying to lose weight, you have to eat enough protein. And a lot of people are struggling to do it because they focus too much on incomplete proteins and they don't even notice you're eating all of these protein, but it doesn't mean that your body's actually receiving it. So that's probably why it's taking you a little bit longer to see the results that you want from working out, going to the gym, all these other things. It is because you are prioritizing incomplete proteins and or not pairing them with complete proteins to make sure you're getting all the protein that you are eating, because we all know how difficult that can be. The next one is a weighted vest. Now, this one is great because it does help you essentially burn calories faster, build muscle faster. It's just, think of like this extra weight on your back that's just intensifying the workout. And this is great depending on any kind of health journey you're on. Whether you're trying to lose weight, whether you're trying to gain weight, this is great for cardio, this is great for weightlifting because it just adds that little bit of an extra oomph. And especially for individuals who do a lot of walking at their jobs, I definitely recommend, if you can, to wear something like this to walk around in, because you already get your steps in and now it's just helping you get your gym goals faster. I'll link below the one that I have. For a rule of thumb, they usually say to start between 8 to 10% of your body weight, give or take. I know there's a lot of people out there that's like, I want to start with the 20-pound one. I want to start with the 30, the 40. Listen, I'm about 129, 26, 27 pounds, something like that. I got mind you, I am a bit extra, so I got the one that is 12 pounds because that's about 10% of my weight, but I could have gotten the one that was 10 pounds. Nonetheless, I would say start using weighted vests. This is great even when you're just going for your walks. Maybe you're on the treadmill. Listen, if you could do it with the Stairmaster, girl, more love for you, because I don't know if I could do that. But nonetheless, I think a lot of people would benefit from having a weighted vest. Like I said before, you're already trying to work out, you're already trying to get to your fitness goals, and so just to add that extra oomph to help you build a little bit muscle faster, to help you burn a little bit calories faster, having a weighted vest is great. And in my opinion, it helps more at actually working long term than things such as like waist trainers. No shade to any of the girls that wear waist trainers, but a lot of things like that only make you look good for a certain amount of time, because first and foremost, you cannot target weight loss, and second of all, a lot of those things just like are picture good. So like you'll put on a waist trainer, it'll look good for a picture, but then an hour later or the next day, your waist will look the same way. This is literally making sure that it is helping you burn the calories. It is literally helping you build the muscle. So this is something that is going to help you long term. But like I said before, I'll link below, and you should think about getting a weighted vest. The next one is adding creatine plus amino acids. So creatine is the big one that everyone has been talking about. Creatine, creatine, creatine. A lot of you may know creatine helps with essentially building muscle faster. There are little things that we can talk about that are like very complicated and difficult and deal with science, but essentially that is what it's helping you do, build the muscle faster when you have creatine. Also, a lot of people don't know creatine helps with like focus and cognitive health and brain health and things like that. But another one that people do not talk about enough, in my opinion, is amino acids. So if you guys paid attention earlier when I was talking about how the difference between the complete protein and the incomplete protein, an incomplete protein does not have all the essential amino acids. And actually most people don't get enough essential amino acids throughout their day. Why is this important? Because protein is made out of amino acids. So if you do not get enough amino acids in your day, essentially going back to what I said before, you can be eating a lot of protein, but it is not working for you, i.e., you are not seeing the results that you want because you do not have enough amino acids. I definitely recommend to take amino acids every single day. The creatine also every single day, even on days when you're not working out. Now, disclaimer, if you are not going to be drinking at least 3 to 4 water bottles a day, do not do this. I'm going to tell you now. You're going to mess yourself up. You can mess up your liver, different things like that. Why? Because these things are very dense in your body and they have to get flushed out and they have to get flushed throughout your body. They are for your entire body. They're supposed to work everywhere around. So essentially, you want to make sure you are getting in enough water so that it can properly distribute throughout your body and it is not just staying in your gut, your intestines, that area. The amino acids that I use, I'll link them below, is from a brand called Kion. It is because they're a brand that I trust that has all of like the essential amino acids. This is not a sponsor. I literally purchase it from them, but if they want to sponsor me, that would be great. And then for creatine, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I go to my local vitamin shop and then I just buy the store brand because creatine is essentially just creatine. Amino acids is the one that you want to make sure that it has all the necessary amino acids in it. But that is one I think a lot of people don't talk about enough. And when I was using it, I'm not gonna lie, consistently, it was helping me get to my fitness goals faster because it was pairing with the protein and making sure that my protein worked even harder. Like I said before, it is so hard to get in our necessary amounts of protein every single day. So if we can have something that helps it distribute faster and work faster for us, I'm all for that. So like I said, creatine plus amino acids. If you want to start out with one, I personally would say start out with amino acids. That's just me because it does pair with the protein, but to each his own. And you take them every single day, even on days when you are not working out. I would say preferably take them before your workout, but especially with the creatine, kind of try to make sure that you take it the same time every single day. The next one is to start your morning every single day with something hot, and I definitely recommend some kind of digestive tea. This one is so imperative because you want to start your digestive system essentially as soon as you wake up. You are going to be putting all this food on it and you want your food to digest. A lot of people, especially when they're trying to get in their protein goals, get bloated and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so bloated. I feel like I'm reversed. My stomach looks bigger than before. My stomach hurts more. It is because the food is not properly digesting, especially when you are drastically changing the amount of food and the kind of food that you're eating. So every single morning, start your morning with a hot digestive tea. Behind me, I will have a few, but you also can search up a few. This is definitely been a game changer for me because I was someone that dealt with bloating because I was always on my weight gain journey, trying to do the protein shakes, trying to do all these other things. And that definitely helps so much. And honestly, it is more so of a Western thing, like the Americas and stuff like that, when we are talking about drinking, cold stuff in the morning. We're talking about drinking the cold cup of water, all this other stuff. A lot of Eastern cultures, which are actually older than the West, a lot of Western cultures, they are the ones that drink warm things in the morning, and they have been doing it for centuries for digestion, for gut health, and all these different things. So I definitely recommend in the morning trying to drink a tea. I also recommend try not putting sugar in your tea. Me personally, I'm like a tea connoisseur, so I can drink tea without anything in it. But if you want to put something in it, because I know that's completely normal, try doing honey. Please try not to do sugar. Don't put sugar in your body as soon as you wake up. And more so try for herbal teas instead of always caffeinated teas. Try not to put caffeine on your system the first thing in the morning. So you can have caffeinated tea in the morning, but try to make sure it's not the first thing that is on your stomach. The next one is figure out 2 to 3 meals that you want to have and like 2 to 3 main proteins. I think a lot of people struggle in their health journey when it comes to achieving their fitness goals, it is because it is too much information out there. And you're like, oh my gosh, I seen this protein meal that looks so good and she's using shrimp. Oh my gosh, I seen this protein meal so good and she's using chicken thighs. Oh my gosh, I seen this meal good. And there's so many different options, and it makes you feel like, first and foremost, you're not doing enough. But then it also makes you not actually want the stuff that you're actually eating because it seems boring and it seems bland. And I think when a lot of people see other people post like the meal prepping, they're like, I can't do that. I can't eat the same thing every single day. I've been meal prepping for I can't tell you how many months now, and I never eat the same thing every single day. One thing that I do is I pick 2 to 3 main proteins. So my main proteins usually are like ground turkey, I like chicken thighs or chicken breast, and then every so often I do like steak, or let's say like a kind of beef stew, that kind of, steak. Not really steak, but I pretend it's steak. I cook it like a steak. Nonetheless, those are the ones that I focus on. And so different kind of recipes I use, they're interchangeable in. So for example, I'll make pasta. I'll make pasta with spaghetti. I'll use for some of it the ground turkey, like a traditional kind of, spaghetti. But then in another one, I might put in some chicken in there. So essentially, it's still the same meal, but I'm having different variations of it. I personally am a big quinoa girl lately. I haven't been eating too much rice. And so I'll have quinoa, I'll have vegetables, whether it's mushrooms, whether it's broccoli, whatever the case may be. And then I might have some ground turkey with that. Or sometimes I might have, chicken thighs and season it a certain way. Or sometimes too with my ground turkey, this is to each its own. I season it a certain way. I make it very spicy, and then I put it inside of a sweet potato. And it's a great, like, sweet, spicy balance to me. I love it. Nonetheless, those are different ways that I eat the same essential protein, the same main dish, but in different ways. I think that will benefit a lot of people, finding 2 to 3 different kinds of protein that you like, using those, and then making dishes where it is interchangeable so you're not eating the same thing every day, because that can be daunting. It can be just boring. And I feel like a lot of people use that to hold them back. Like, I don't want to eat the same thing every day and it's so boring. And it's like, no, you can switch up different meals, just have 2 to 3 main proteins. You cook those and then put them inside different things. And I think that would definitely help a lot of people. Now, the next one is cutting out inflammatory foods as much as possible. I mentioned this on a previous video, but I have to mention this again because it is just that important. We eat so many inflammatory foods that we don't notice. First and foremost, it's taking us away from our fitness goals because our body is not able to properly digest the food that it's eating. Our body is not properly able to use the nutrients that are supposed to be inside of our food properly, and then essentially we end up bloated, acne, all these other things. So I definitely recommend to try as much as you can to eat a anti-inflammatory diet. Now, if you see behind me, there are certain things that are essentially would be considered inflammatory that I did mention, but you can try to cut them out as much as possible. That's the whole thing. I don't want people to think you have to be perfect. You just have to try to focus on one main thing, and the one main thing is anti-inflammatory. So it does say red meat is inflammatory. Since I personally know red meat is inflammatory, I told y'all every so often I do try to eat steaks and, ground stew, the stew, beef and stuff like that. One thing that I do, since I already know it's an inflammatory food, when it comes to like my chicken, my turkey, whatever, I go to the grocery store, I just buy the cheapest one, honestly, and I get it. But since I know red meat is inflammatory, I make sure the red meat that I eat is grass-fed and grass-finished. So those are little things that you can do to try to help you when you are on like this whole inflammatory, anti-inflammatory diet. Another thing too is just being mindful. So another thing that's inflammatory is sausages. This one I think is imperative to talk about as well because sausages have a lot of protein. I know a lot of people see people when they're on their weight gain or they're on their weight loss journey, they'll have like a sausage with like some broccoli and then some like peppers or something like that. You may say, well, that's inflammatory and that girl eats that every single day. Yes, but if you're paying attention to everything she's eating as a whole, she has no seasoning on that broccoli. She has no seasoning on that, those peppers. And I'm not saying you have to live your life like that, but I want you to understand there's a balance between it all. Maybe you do want to eat a sausage this morning, but you're like, okay, maybe I'm not going to eat one tomorrow. Just paying attention to the inflammatory foods that are inside of your diet are so imperative. And if you're thinking about what are inflammatory foods, of course you can search them up, but just a rule of thumb is asking yourself, how many processes did it take to get here? Sausages even when they're like the healthy ones are inflammatory. Why? Because a lot of time what? They're smoked, they're cured. A lot of times they're already cooked and all you have to do is kind of warm them up. But then they went through a lot of processes that involved a lot of chemicals for them to get to where they are. Another thing is lunch meat too. Lunch meat is good, and I'm not saying not to eat it at all, but just being aware of certain things like that. The process that it took for this meat to be cooked, for this meat to be essentially at your table, were a lot of different things that required a lot of different chemicals. Be aware of things that come out of cans. Just be aware of things that, of course, that are already cooked, but then there's alcohol, there's refined sugars, there's so many different things. And like I said before, I don't want you to be that person that's like, I can't eat nothing, I can't do nothing. No, but it's about being aware of what that inflammatory foods are and trying to make sure that you cut them as much as you can out of your diet, because like we said, we are trying to get to our goals faster. So that means that we might have to cut things a little bit more aggressively so we can get to where we want to be. So thank you guys so much for watching my video. I hope that these tips will help you. These are definitely tips that I am using. And I just feel like there's a little bit things that could have helped people to get their goals faster. Like I said, there is a traditional working out and eating healthy. Those are great things as well. But they're just little things that you can optimize and pay attention to that I think will help you get to your goals. So thank y'all and have a great one. And comment below any tips that you have, anything that you're using, or anything that you might have learned from the video that you weren't already aware about. Thank y'all and have a great one. And of course, don't forget to follow me on TikTok. My TikTok is doing very well, so thank y'all for that. Don't forget to sign up for my newsletter, Pinterest, and then also if you are an audio listener and you prefer that, you can go below to listen to my podcast. Thank y'all and have a great one.